So, as I'm sure you found out, Carlos Condit has announced his retirement. You know what? This is something that I did see coming because he looked like, I don't mean this in a bad way, but he did look like a shell of his former self because he was one of the greatest fighters of all time. When he was fighting for the title, when he was interim champion, that welterweight division was arguably much more stacked than it is right now because that guy, the natural born killer, he ran through some tough fights, and he's one of the most exciting fighters, hands down, in all of MMA, whether you like him or not. I think he's unanimously loved. But even if you don't like Condit, you can't argue that he wasn't a natural born killer. He didn't put it on. This guy always put on a show, even in his old age, and after like he's fought with all these miles going on him. It's incredible. It's incredible, and I'm happy to see him retire. And I just want to say, like, I know he's never going to watch this, but honestly, thank you so much, Carlos Condit. Carlos Condit has made me a super fan of the UFC. Back in the old days, in the old UFC days, I came home from playing football with my friends, and my dad was watching GSP versus Condit, and I've watched UFC fights before that. And I enjoyed UFC, but I was never really paying attention to it, you know what I mean? When Carlos Condit fought GSP, I was never more hyped for a fight, at the time at least, because the Conor McGregor era just boosted the UFC to a brand new level, and it was like, there's nothing like the Conor McGregor era in the UFC in 2016, that whole year. Awesome. But anyways, I'm not here to talk about that. Carlos Condit, when I went back and sat down and watched that fight, because I had nothing better to do, and my dad was watching UFC, so I was sitting down and I was like, oh, were you watching UFC? Cool. And then the GSP versus Condit. So that fight was like, it was an exciting fight, right? But when Carlos Condit hit that head kick on St. Pierre, and St. Pierre went down, he almost finished the fight, and Goldberg was going crazy. I miss Mike Goldberg, by the way. He was such an incredible announcer. And he was almost finishing the fight, and then everybody's like, oh, Condit's swarming on St. Pierre! And it was so crazy. I have never been hyped for a fight. That was the first time ever in watching any UFC fights that I was like, oh my god, he can win the fight, oh my god. And I've never done that in a UFC fight ever. And since then, I have watched pretty much every single UFC card ever. Carlos Condit is the entire reason that I became a super fan of the UFC, and I am still a super fan to this day. He's the reason why I got interested in UFC. He's the reason why I did martial arts indirectly. So, Carlos Condit, thank you. Enjoy your retirement. I'm like, it's bittersweet that you're retiring because I always want to see Carlos fight. Crazy fight. I always get excited. I love cheering for him. And it's so sad that he was supposed to be champion because who in this planet doesn't think that he didn't beat Robbie Lawler? Everybody in the world thinks that he beat Robbie Lawler. It just must be sad for him to retire as interim champ because if you listen to interviews in the past and UFC countdowns, he was talking about like, oh, that haunts me just hearing that interim UFC championship. And to fight GSP for the championship, almost win that with that insane head kick, and to fight Lawler when the entire world thinks that you won that fight, it must be so hard. It must be devastating for him. But at the same time, he ended his career on a high note. He still put on some amazing fights, and he ended his career with all the MMA fans loving him, cheering him, excited. Carlos Condit, enjoy retirement. Thank you for making me a super fan of the UFC.